Alright, this is the review for your Chapter 8 Part 2 test. So the first one, it says that we had to pull out the greatest common factor. There's two ways you can do this. One way is you can just look at the problem and see what you need to pull out, what they all have in common. Another way is you can do the tree. So I am not going to do the tree part. I'm just going to go ahead and pull out what I see is in common. So looking at this, I see that all of them have an x in common, and I can pull out a 3 out of all these. So if I pull out a 3 and an x, what I have left over, 3 divided by 3 is 1. Here you have 3 x's, so if I take 1 away, I have 2 left. So I have an x squared. In the middle, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and if I have 2 x's, if I take 1 away, I have 1 x left over. And the end, negative 6 divided by 3 is a negative 2. And if I have 1x and take it away, there's no x left. So that's it for number 1. Alright, number 2, it says factor xy plus 4y minus 2y squared completely. If you notice, the only thing that all three of these have in common is a y. So when I pull the y out, that gets rid of that y. So I have an x left over. Gets rid of that y, so I have a 4 left over, minus 2. Y squared means you have 2 y's, so if I get rid of 1, I just have 1 y left over. Number 3, solve 5w plus 4 times 3w minus 7 is equal to 0. All you have to do is set both of these equal to 0, so 5w plus 4 is equal to 0. 3w minus 7 is equal to 0. Okay, so to solve for w, subtract 4 from both sides. 5w is equal to negative 4. Divide both sides by 5. W is equal to negative 4 over 5. Alright, here you're going to add 7 to both sides. So you have 3w is equal to 7. Divide both sides by 3. W is equal to 7 over thirds. And the way you're going to see your answer on your test is a fancy bracket. Negative 4 fifths, comma 7 thirds, fancy bracket. Alright, number 4, solve x times x plus 10 is equal to 0. Same exact thing. You're going to have x is equal to 0, x plus 10 is equal to 0. The first one is already solved for x, so you just have to solve the second one by subtracting 10 from both sides. So you have x is equal to negative 10. Again, your answer will be fancy brackets, negative 10, comma 0. Number 5, you're factoring x squared minus 9x plus 8. First thing you check is to see if you have a greatest common factor. There is no greatest common factor. Second thing you do is label a, b, and c. So a is 1, b is negative 9, c is 8. You're going to do your AC method, so you have 1 times 8, which is equal to 8. Okay, I know my answer is going to be the format of x plus or minus something times x plus or minus something. So when I look at my 8 to figure out what I'm going to put in, I'm going to do my factors. But before you do that, you need to look at your signs. So I have a positive and a negative. When you have a positive, you have the two options. It's either a negative times a negative or a positive times a positive. The middle term tells you it's a negative times a negative. So I'm going to start with my factors. I have a negative 1 and negative 8. Add those together to give you negative 9. That's what I need is a negative 9. So these are the two numbers I want to use, x minus 1, x minus 8. And that is it. Okay, number 6, you are solving. First thing you want to do is get everything over here with the y squared. When you move this stuff over, it changes the sign. So positive 12y becomes a negative, negative 36 becomes a positive, and that's equal to 0. First thing you do is ask if you have a greatest common factor to pull out. There is no greatest common factor to pull out. Second thing you do is label a, b, and c. A is 1, b is negative 12, c is 36. Do your AC method, which says that you're going to do 1 times 36, which gives you 36. Okay, I know that my answer is going to be in the format of y plus or minus something times y plus or minus something is equal to 0. To figure out what goes in those blanks, we're going to look at 36. Got to determine what I want my signs to be. So again, since that last number is a positive, you have two options, either a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative. The middle tells you want to do a negative times a negative. So I'm going to start negative 1 and negative 36. That will give me a total of negative 37. Negative 2, negative 18. That will give me a total of negative 20. Negative 3 and negative 12. That will give me a total of negative 15. -4 and -9, that would give me a -13. -6 and -6, that would give me a -12, and that's what I want, was a -12. Those are two numbers I'm going to use, so y minus 6, y minus 6. Last thing you have to do is set each of these equal to 0. And then to get to y by itself, you just add 6 to both sides. So for both of these, your answer is going to come out to be y is equal to 6. So you just do fancy bracket, 6, and close it with your fancy bracket. And again, I know I'm going through these pretty quickly, so you can always stop and rewind it, pause it, so that you can write all the stuff down. All right, number 7, factor 6q squared minus 13q plus 6. First thing you ask yourself, is there a greatest common factor you can pull out? There is no greatest common factor you can pull out. Second thing you do is you label A, B, C. So A is 6, B is -13, and C is 6. So when we do our AC method, we're going to do 6 times 6, which gives us 36. So I know my answer is going to be in the format of 6q plus or minus something times 6q plus or minus something. To figure that out, we're going to look at the 36. I need two numbers that will multiply to give me 36 and add to get me that -13. Okay, so again, that's going to be the negative and a negative. We already wrote down right up here all the numbers, and I want to get to a -13. So if I look at my factors from above, the -13 up here, I'm going to change my colors, was this -4 and -9. So I'm going to kind of cheat here and go ahead and put my -4 and -9, because I know that gives me my -13 that I need. So these are the numbers that I want. So -4 minus 9. Now the difference here on this part is you have to clean this up, okay? You got to get your trash, pull it out, and throw it away. So whenever we do this, all right, the number I'm going to pull out of this first one is a 2. So what I have left over is 6 divided by 2 is 3, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. The second part here, what I can pull out is a 3. So we have a 6 divided by 3 is 2, 9 divided by 3 is 3. Once you clean this up, this trash that you pulled out, you just throw it away. So that's gone, that's gone. You rewrite this to make it nice and pretty. 3q minus 2 times 2q minus 3. And what you can do to always double check yourself, you can always do the box method and make sure that comes out to the original problem. And that's a very, very good way to check yourself. Alright, next one is number 8. So again, this one is kind of the same, except we're actually going to solve this. First thing you need to do is have this set equal to 0. So I got to move that 10 over. You have 8p squared minus 16p minus 10 is equal to 0. Okay, I am looking to see if I have a greatest common factor, and I do. My greatest common factor is a 2. So I can pull a 2 out of all this. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 16 divided by 2 is 8. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And that's still going to be equal to 0. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label it my A, B, C. A is 4, B is -8, C is -5. When I do my AC method, I have 4 times -5, which gives me -20. So that's a 20 over there, not 21, 20. Right, so next thing I'm going to do is I know that my answer is going to be, because I got to keep this 2. 2 is going to be 4p plus or minus something times 4p plus or minus something is equal to 0. To figure out what that something something is, I'm going to look at this -20. Okay, I got to figure out what signs I want to use because I have the negative and the negative. So when I try to decide this, since it's a negative, we're going to have a loser and a winner. Winner's in the middle. That's your negative, so my loser was a positive. So remember, loser's on the left. All right, so now what I have, I'm going to go through my factors. We have +1 and -20. That would give me a -19. +2 and -10, that would give me a -8, and that's what I want, a -8. So my numbers I'm going to use are a +2 and a -10. Okay, now it's time to clean this stuff up. You still have a 2 here. This first part, I can pull out a 2, and what I have left over then is 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. This next piece, I can pull out a 2 again. So what I have left over, 4 divided by 2 is 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and that's equal to 0. Okay, whenever you clean this up and take out your trash, remember you just throw it away. Throw it away. So what you're left with is you have 2 times 2p plus 1 times 2p minus 5 is equal to 0. I don't really care about that 2 in front for right now. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to set each of these. 2p plus 1 is equal to 0, and 2p minus 5 is equal to 0. So when I solve this first one, you subtract 1 from both sides, so you get 2p is equal to negative 1. When you divide both sides by 2, you get negative 1/2. Over here, you're going to add 5 to both sides, so you get 2p is equal to 5. Divide both sides by 2, you get p is equal to 5 over 2. Okay, the way you write your answers in fancy brackets, negative 1/2, comma 5 over 2. Alright, number 9, anytime you see this x squared and y squared and you don't have a middle term, all you need to do is take the square root of both sides. This is very easy. Square root of 25 is 5 and you have an x. Square root of 49 is 7, you have a y. And then you just rewrite that but change the sign. You change the sign because when you FOIL this out or do your box method, that middle term will be a 0 pair, and that's going to be your answer. Okay, number 10, we're going to do both of the binomial factors for this. So first thing that I see is that I do have a greatest common factor I can pull out. My GCF is going to be equal to 3. So when I pull a 3 out, what I'm left over with is a squared plus 10a. 63 divided by 3 is 21, so plus 21. Okay, so a is equal to 1, b is equal to 10, c is equal to 21. When I do my AC method, I have 1 times 21. AC is equal to 21. So I know my answer is going to be 3 parentheses a plus or minus something times a plus or minus something. To figure out what that is, I'm going to look at 21. They're both positive, so these are both going to be positive. I'm going to go ahead and jump to 3 times 7 to give me 21 because that adds to give me 10. So plus 3 and plus 7. Nothing else I need to clean up, so that's my final answer. Alright, next one, it says if the area of a square is multiplied by 4, the area becomes 25 square inches. So you have 4x squared equals 25. Find the length x of a side of the square. Alright, so for this one, you just have 4x squared is equal to 25. You're going to divide both sides by that 4. So you have x squared is equal to 25 divided by 4. You're going to square root both sides, so you have x is equal to. Now when you take the square root, you will always have a positive answer and a negative answer. This is the same thing as the square root of 25 over the square root of 4. These are perfect squares, so square root of 25 is 5. Square root of 4 is 2. But remember, you always have a positive and a negative. Alright, number 12. Number 12 is kind of an ugly problem. The numbers both come out positive. When you do this, one's going to come out to be positive, one's going to come out to be negative. So you have Julian who's kicking this this ball above the ground. It's negative 5t squared plus 22t. You're trying to figure out the time it takes for the ball to reach 8 feet above the ground. So what that means that h stands for height. So we know my height is going to be at 8. And so we have negative 5t squared plus 22t. You never want a negative t squared, so we're going to move this stuff over here. And when you move it over, it's going to change the sign. So what we have then is we have 5t squared minus 22t plus 8 is equal to 0. And we're going to figure out what t is. So first you have to see if you have a greatest common factor and you don't. So a is equal to 5, b is equal to negative 22, c is equal to 8. You're going to do your AC method, so a times c is equal to 5 times 8, which is 40. So I know that my answer is going to be 5t plus or minus something times 5t plus or minus something is equal to 0. To figure those numbers, we're going to look at this. Since we have a positive and a negative, I know it's going to be a negative times a negative. I can do negative 1 and negative 40. That gives me negative 41. I can do negative 2 and negative 20. That gives me negative 22. And that is what we have. So those are numbers I want to use. So minus 2 and minus 20. I can go ahead and pull out, clean this up. So when I clean this up, I still have 5t minus 2. Here I can pull out a 5, so that would leave me with t minus 4 is equal to 0. We're going to set both of these equal to 0. So 5t minus 2 is equal to 0, and t minus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, 5t is equal to 2, t is equal to 2 over 5. Here t is equal to 4. Now, if you think about this problem, it's not going to take 4 seconds for the ball to hit the ground, so this answer is not going to work. So your answer here will be 2/5 of a second. Alright, number 13, you have the length of a rectangle is twice the width. The area is 128 centimeters. What is the length? Area is equal to length times width. So 128 is equal to x times 2x. So 128 is equal to, this is just going to be 2x squared. Divide both sides by 2. When you divide both sides by 2, you'll get 64. So 64 is equal to x squared. Divide both sides by x. So you will get, when you do a square root, you always have a positive number and a negative number. Now, when you think about this, you don't want a negative because you never can measure anything to be negative. So when I plug this in, my width is going to be 8, and these are centimeters. My length is 2 times 8, which is going to be 16, so this is 16 centimeters. And the question's asking for the length, so the length would be 16 centimeters. Okay, number 14, we are factoring m squared plus 17m plus 70. So again, you have no GCF. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 17, C is equal to 70. AC method says you do A times C, so 1 times 70 will give me 70. I know my answer is going to be m plus or minus something times m plus or minus something. I'm going to do the shortcut. Both of these are positive. I know 7 times 10, if I add those numbers, will give me 17. That's what I need. So plus 7 plus 10, and that's your final answer. Okay, possible area is that. Find an expression that represents a possible length for the rectangle. So again, for this one, the first thing I'm going to do, I don't have a greatest common factor, so no GCF. Okay, A is equal to 1, B is equal to negative 9, C is equal to 14. The AC method would say to do 1 times 14, which gives me 14. I know my answer is going to look something like y plus or minus something times y plus or minus something. So to figure that out, I'm going to look at 14. Okay, looking at my signs, I have a positive and negative, so that tells me it has to be a negative times a negative. Negative 1, negative 14 would give me negative 15. Negative 2 and negative 7 would give me negative 9. Negative 9 is what I want, so these are two I'm going to plug in. And either one of these could be a possible length for your rectangle. Alright, in 15, we're solving this one. So first question you ask yourself, if you have a greatest common factor, there is no GCF. Next thing I'm going to do is label, so I have A is equal to 15, B is equal to negative 1, C is equal to negative 2. AC method says you multiply A times C, so 15 times negative 2 will give me negative 30. Alright, I know my answer is going to look like 15n plus or minus something times 15n plus or minus something is equal to 0. To figure out what I want to put in there, we're going to look at this negative 30. Okay, before I find my factors, let's look at my signs. Since it's negative, I have a loser and a winner. My winner is the middle number, so loser will be a positive. Okay, so doing this, I'm going to kind of cheat again because I know 5 times negative 6 gives me negative 30. If I add that together, it gives me negative 1, and that's what I want. So plus 5 minus 6. I'm going to clean this up and pull out some trash. I can take a 5 out of here, so that would leave me with 3n plus 1. I can pull a 3 out of this one, and so that will leave me with 5n minus 2 equal to 0. Okay, whenever you clean this up and take the trash out, you throw it away, So I'm going to set both of these equal to 0. 3n plus 1 is equal to 0, and 5n minus 2 is equal to 0. So whenever I solve for n, I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. 3n is equal to negative 1. Divide both sides by 3. So here I have n is equal to negative 1/3. Again, just solve for n, add 2 to both sides. Cross that off, 5n is equal to 2. Divide both sides by 5. So n is equal to 2/5. So you write your answer in fancy bracket, negative 1/3, comma 2/5. And that's it for that one. Alright, again, anytime you see these perfect squares and they don't have a middle term, just take the square root of both sides. So I can square root this and square root that. Square root of 9 is 3, and then you have m, minus the square root of 36 is 6. So all you have to do is rewrite it and put a plus sign, because when you do your box method, those middle terms will cancel out because of that 0 pair. Okay, solve. So for this one, to get y by itself, I'm going to divide both sides by 100. So that cancels out. You have y squared is equal to 49 over 100. Take the square root of both sides. This is the same thing as square root of 49 divided by the square root of 100. Okay, remember when you take the square root, you always get a positive and a negative answer. So positive would be 7 over 10. The negative would just be negative 7 over 10. Right, number 19, we're going to solve this one. So first thing I need to do is set this equal to 0. So we'd have 9x squared plus 6x minus 15 is equal to 0. You do have a greatest common factor. It would be 3. So I'm going to pull that 3 out. So I have 3x squared plus 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. After this, I'm going to do my AC method. So A is 3, B is 2, C is negative 5. So AC would be 3 times negative 5, which is negative 15. Okay, so I'm still going to keep my 3. I know my answer is 3x plus or minus something. 3x plus or minus something is equal to 0. To figure out that plus or minus something, we're going to look at negative 15. Right, my signs are positive and negative, so I'm a loser and a winner. My winner here is going to be the positive, so losers are the negatives. So I'm going to cheat again because I already know this in my head. Negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. When I add those together, it gives me a positive 2, and that's what I want. So I have minus 3 and plus 5. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning up. So I still have 3. I can pull out a 3 here. So I'm going to pull out my 3 right here. And when I do that, I'll have x minus 1. And then we just have 3x plus 5 is equal to 0. Remember, when you clean up and take out the trash, you have to throw it away, so that is now gone. I don't care about this 3 out in front when I'm setting it equal to 0, so I have x minus 1 equals 0. 3x plus 5 is equal to 0. This first one, whenever you add 1 to both sides, you will just get x is equal to 1. The second one, when you subtract 5 from both sides, you get 3x is equal to negative 5. Divide both sides by 3, so you will have x is equal to negative 5 over 3. Okay, you will have to just rewrite this in fancy brackets, so I'll do that over here. So my answer would be negative 5 over 3, comma 1. Alright, and the last one here, the length of a rectangle is 2 centimeters more than the width. The area of the rectangle is 35 square centimeters. What is the length? So for this one, you have area is equal to length times width. So area is equal to, we could do x times, I'm going to erase the area because I know my area. My area is 35. X times x plus 2. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to multiply this out. So you have x squared plus 2x. Set that equal to 0, so move that over. 0 is equal to x squared plus 2x minus 35. Go through your steps. There's no GCF. A is equal to 1. B is equal to 2. C is equal to negative 35. Your AC method, you would multiply 1 times negative 35. So AC is equal to negative 35. Okay, so I know, I'll do it on this side. I know my answer is going to be x plus or minus something times x plus or minus something is equal to 0. Figure that out. I'm going to look at negative 35. My signs are a negative and a positive, so I have a loser and a winner. My winner is positive, loser is negative. And again, we can use the negative 5 and a positive 7. Multiply those, that would give me multiply gives me a negative 35. Add them together would give me a 2. So we have x minus 5 and x plus 7. There's nothing I need to clean up, so just set both these equal to 0. And when I solve for x, I have x is equal to 5 and x is equal to negative 7. Remember, you cannot have negative measurements, so x equals 5 is what I want to use. It's asking for the length, so my length, I have to do 5 plus 2, which gives me 7. So my length is equal to 7 centimeters. Alright, and so that is it for your review. I know I went through that pretty fast, so just make sure that you pause it, rewind it, watch as many times as you need to.